I haven't been advised that we've got anyone in public forum.
Ready to go.
Ready to go? Okay.
Grace?
Welcome to our Carterton District Council here. Is there someone who'd like to do our karakia this morning or this afternoon? Thank you, Councillor Newman.
Mai te pai mongo raro ki te tai, mai te awatonga raro ki te awaraki, tēnei te he pori awhi ai e taratahi, whanau, hare mai te toki, homie huie tai.
Thank you. I just want to make an observation, just based on a conversation C and I have just had about interpretation and how it's been handled in different places, particularly by the audit office. But I did, by chance, actually run that karakia through translator this morning, and it's interesting, the interpretation on that and the final phrase is, get your acts right, you're going to have a good time. I hope there are no axes in the room.
There.
Yeah, I know, which is different to that interpretation there, which only only confirms the CE's comment that there are different interpretations to be found. Apologies. Do we have any apologies? That's right.
She's online.
Oh, she's online. There you are. Sorry. Oh. Got you. No, there be no apologies. Conflicts of interest declaration. Do we have any conflicts of interest to be declared?
Just in the public excluded, I would say I'm a...
Okay. Deal with that there. Yes. Thank you. Public forum. Has there been any notification of anybody wishing to come and speak at public forum? Nothing. Youth council, wonderful youth council. No, not today.
We just have, they haven't got anything for this paper, but they're going to be working with the comms team, and comms team are going to go into the presentation review stuff with them, and they'll provide feedback out of the next council.
Fantastic. I'm happy to sit on that if they want me to be there. Thank you. Moving straight to item number 6, confirmation of minutes at 6.1, minutes of the ordinary council meeting dated 1 May is first up. Anyone like to move those minutes? I take it that they're all been read. Would someone like to move? They're true and accurate record. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, Councillor Dallas seconding. All of those. Against. Any abstentions? Moving to 6.2 and 6.3. I will take them individually because I think separate meetings. Someone like to move the meeting on 15th of May as true.
I just have a query for the second item. And if you scroll down to 6.1, just the votes, I don't think that's correct.
0.1, delegation to hearings committee. On page
there's 4, it says 6, but there's actually only 5 listed, and I think Councillor Della should be up in the 6, and I should be added to against.
Oh, right. And you are
0.1.
Under 6.11.
Oh, sorry, I was on 6.
6.1. All elected members of the hearing committee. I'm pretty positive, Councillor Della, you. No, I don't know.
But down in number 2, delegates, the hearings committee, the authority to undertake the hearings and deliberations.
Yeah.
Councillor Della is down as against. I think he is for.
Well, he seconded the motion.
And it's missing me against.
So, okay. So for clarity, 6.11, that resolution there, the motions of the voting of 5-4, are those votes correct, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
Are the against votes correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's how I recall them. And 6.12, The motion passed there, moved by Councillor Cherry-Campbell, seconded by Councillor Della. Clearly, Councillor Della would not have voted against the motion he seconded. So if we can make that amendment, please. And Councillor Cretney, who's been dropped off, was a vote against, correct? We note those with those amendments? Yep. Thanks, Chief. Are there any other observations, comments, adjustments, amendments on the minutes dated 15th of May and 29th of May? There be none, could I have someone move?
That's the one.
Is that, I get confused about which meeting, so,
That's page 15.
17.
yeah, I'm there, but is that this meeting?
Yes.
So that's
Convened.
six-
Reconvene meeting.
5.
It lifted it on the 15th and reconvened on the 29th.
Yeah, so 6.5.
6.5.
Number 3.
On page 18.
I think it's the meeting 29th, isn't it?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was the 29th.
Yeah.
So it was 29th.
We'll wait till we get there and then there's a problem with that.
Okay, so wait. So the minutes as laid out, page 15 to page 20. Someone care to move over this one? Oh, Councillor Ayling?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, have you got any? I wasn't looking. Have
No,
you
no,
got
I'm good.
comments there, okay. Page, so that set of minutes dated 15th and 29 May 24, page 15 to page 20. Those amendments, would someone like to move? They be accepted with amendment. I'll move it. Who's second? Councillor Newman?
That's right.
Yeah.
Are we okay?
No,
Yeah, there's,
there is a correction from
We'll change.
Steve. I think it's on the extraordinary council meeting.
Yep.
We're on both the 15th and 29th of May
Yes.
and on 6.5.
Yes.
Number
AJ.
3, the for and against was 2 motions that failed, and the second one, the for and against were should have been the other way around. But
So 6.5.3,
Right.
Councillor Steve Laurence proposed the motion, seconded by Councillor Grace Ayling.
Oh, that's another.
And
Yeah.
the for and against that motion are the wrong way round.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Thank you, Councillor Laurence. So that amendment needs to be made. That's two lot amendments duly noted. Yep. Are there any other amendments? A while ago, there was a few challenges. Okay, so I have moved and Councillor Newman has seconded that those minutes with amendments be accepted. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. Moving to page 21, minutes of the hearings committee. On the 29th, which goes through to page 26. Are there any amendments, adjustments, comments on those minutes? Would someone care to move that they are a true and accurate record? Councillor Cherry-Campbell, looking for a seconder. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Cretney. All in favour? Aye. Against? Abstentions? Motion's carried. Minutes are accepted. Thank you, and thank you for that diligence. Moving to item number 7, page 27, representation review, initial proposal for consultation. Yay.
Now, in Karen's absence,
In Karen's absence,
Stephen.
I'll step in and take questions. We do have Stephen Hill from Elections NZ also online, who's probably more appropriately informed to take.
Thanks, Chief.
Questions.
I will ask Stephen if you wish to just give us an overview. Stephen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillors, good to be with you again. Just checking you can hear me okay? Yep. Yeah, look, really pleased to see this paper coming to you today. I think it's the combination of, yes, it's been a bit of a process, but I think it's from my observation, it's been a good process in terms of stepping through all of the statutory requirements for the representation review, giving good consideration to the questions that need to be asked and answered, looking at the options that were available to you as a council. I won't sort of step through in any detail the paper, but it does go through the background, some of the issues that you've explored, the feedback from community consultation, bearing in mind that there was not a huge response to that, but useful as one input into the process and a bit of a snapshot of community views. Looking at the requirements around the different options that were available to you. There's some references to, in particular, the options that were considered at the last workshop earlier this month. And that really takes you through to the recommendation, which is on, I think it's page 36 of the agenda, which was really where we appeared to land at that last workshop, which was effectively maintaining the current arrangements as being an arrangement that is familiar to residents, that's working well, that provides you as elected members the ability to effectively represent your communities and for your communities to have access to the council. So that's the basis of the proposal that's in the recommendation. And we note there that assuming that this is resolved today, that will then kick off a process which is set out in statute of formal consultation. And there's a copy of the draft statement of proposal, and then that will be available for a month for public consultation, and then to be followed by hearings if submissions are received on that and that's required. So you're happy to answer any specific questions, but hopefully the paper is self-explanatory.
Thank you, Stephen. Are there any questions, comments, observations, views? Councillor Della.
Thank you, Muriel. Yeah, it's interesting. The pre-consultation engagement we have already had with the community, the Facebook page poll, and also the rural community through the rural advisory group, all basically came up with the same answer, that status quo of 8 councillors and 1 mayor, all at large, is working really well. And so with that in mind, I know it's part, we're mandated to have a consultation with the wider public, but I think probably we'll end up with the same result. So I just would like to emphasise that the 3 basic, pre-engagement polls we've already run have all come up with the same idea so far. So that's really good. Thank you.
Any other? Thanks, Councillor Williams.
Just following on from Councillor Della, I guess as we talked in the lead up to this paper, the focus should always be from the public on quality of candidates rather than which street they live or which ward they live. And as long as people are prepared to put their hand up and run for office, and we should continue to get good representation. Anything else?
Questions? Okay, so recommendations there on page 36, and I think based on the workshops we've had today, they pretty fairly represent the conversations there as far as I'm concerned. So can we crack into this? We're looking for resolutions that we receive the report and agree to the initial proposal for formal consultation, adopt the representation review statement of proposal, authorise the Mayor and the CEO, agree that to approve minor changes, agrees the hearing committee will hear the oral submissions and deliberate on both the initial and final proposal, and notes that the final proposal is agreed. And notes that when the final proposal is agreed, it's expected to be in place for the next 2 years. Only question I have on that is, does that come back? So next year, next election, sorry. The only question I have is, does this come back to the council for ratification after the hearings committee? It has to. Yep. It has to. Yeah. Okay. Can we take them in block? All happy with that? So all recommendations to be moved. Who's Deputy Mayor Steve Cretney, seconded by Councillor Adela. All in favour? Aye. Against? Any abstentions? Congratulations. Thank you, Stephen. Thank Chief. Can you please thank Karen? There's been a lot of work gone into this. So we're in almost the final step, which is public consultation. Motion's carried. Thank you very much for that work.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Well done. A good process and a good result. Thank you.
Excellent. 7.2, page 44, water reforms update. You're on, Chief.
Right. So look, I'll take the paper as read. There's quite a lot of information there on what's currently happening. Short story is we're running 3 parallel processes. One to look at standalone option, which we have to do. Second one to look at a joint Wairarapa Tararua model, and a third one as part of the Wellington region. So some of those models are outlined there, and the expectations of the bill is also outlined there, as is our submission, which has come back to council for ratification, given that we didn't have time to get a council resolution prior to submission. Yeah. Happy to take questions. There's a lot going on in this space.
A lot in there. I will pause. Councillor Ayling, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I noted in the paper that you mentioned the idea of us combining with Tararua. I wonder if you could talk about some of the benefits / concerns or risks with us teaming up with them as well as part of the combined Wairarapa.
Sure. Let's start with the benefits, Councillor Ayling. The first benefit is they share the same iwi as the rest of the Wairarapa. So I think it's really important to look at our iwi partners as partners in this process. So we have 2 iwi across the whole of Tararua and Wairarapa, and they would be exactly the same 2 iwi, whether we have Tararua in or not. I think there is also some benefits in terms of scale, and also the technology that we use in rural New Zealand is very different to the technology that is used in metro New Zealand for dealing with particularly wastewater. So I think there is certainly that benefit. The risks it expands the geographic area quite significantly from relatively combined area of South Wairarapa through to Marsden. We add roughly another 100 kilometres to get up to Dannevirke. We also add about 7 or 8 wastewater treatment plants, which would mean that we're dealing with about 15 across all of the councils. So it's getting quite complicated. The geographic area may mean we have to have 2 depots instead of 1. We haven't quite figured that out yet, but you would expect with a geographic area of north of 150 kilometres, you might not all be located in the same space. The financial challenges I don't think are going to be significantly different but I think some of the physical challenges will be.
Thank you. And sorry, just one other, is Mayor Tracy Collis, she's keen for that to happen? That's something that they're wanting to jump on with us?
I'll jump in there if I could, Chapman. You talk about Kim's meeting. So a couple of things have happened over the last week, and I'll leave Jeff to talk about the CE engagement that's occurring. I had a conversation with Mayor Collis yesterday, and I can tell you that she is more keen to be coming this way than to going the other way, although I don't think they're getting much of a choice. You might like to expand on that, Jeff.
Yes, I think His Worship is exactly right. They are very keen to look south. They did look towards Hawke's Bay and were told no, mostly because of the cyclone damage from Hawke's Bay. They've got their own process. They have looked towards horizons, and like we have found, the hill in between us and our neighbours is more than just a physical barrier. Yeah. So they are very much looking towards coming south, if they can.
I guess if I just add to that, I think the risks, you're quite right to ask that question. If you look at this, if everyone's had a read of the submission that we put to the Finance and Expenditure Committee the other day, and I thank the CE for drafting that up, although it's very hard to get that amount of detail out in 10 minutes flat. If you're going to leave 3 to 4 minutes for questioning, it's impossible. So we gave them a verbal brief of it. But the things that we need to be very conscious of is the sustainability of a plan that is to be enacted in such a very, very short period of time. It just can't work. And it may work for for metropolitan areas where they've got a huge ratepayer base to draw on, but for rural provincial councils like us, like South Wai, like Tararua, it's an impossibility. The other risk that stands out is that there are some councils that are just simply not going to be attractive to be invited in to be in partner with anybody. And some of them stand to be orphans. I don't need to name them. I think Councillor Della would know quite well the state of some of the councils. But our challenge will be, whatever structure we fall into, do we have the ratepayer base to actually manage the expectations of the legislation within the time frame that they're laying down in a way that's affordable to every person who's connected to the network? And it would be foolhardy to be talking numbers right now as we're still in the work process of working on those numbers. But all the indications are that given the timeline, they're ugly and they're unaffordable. But we'll know with more clarity as we keep doing the work. Anything you can add to that, Jeff?
Yeah, so the decision that we will be asked to make will have a lot of different layers. And I think we could look at it a number of different ways. So the process we will go through is what's called a multi-criteria decision process or tool. So we'll look at it financially. We'll look at it regards to the contract model. We'll look at it regards to the staff. We'll look at it regards how the community might see this and what they want in terms of local voice. There'll be a lot of different ways we can look at it. And we're going to have to put all of that together into a pot to make a single decision. So what we will be doing as part of this process is to try and identify what are the priorities for the community. What are the priorities in terms of service delivery? What are the priorities in terms of financial? What are the priorities in terms of long-term rates and affordability and sustainability? So we'll have to look at this in a range of different ways.
Yeah.
And that's the trick with this particular decision, is it's complex and no one solution or no one answer is the absolute right answer.
If I was to put it in a nutshell, and kick me under the table if I'm wrong, please, Chief, this is Three Waters without the money and without the Maori governance component.
Pretty much.
And essentially owned by either council or a council-owned entity. The issue is that all the money has to come now from ratepayers in two separate bills. One will be their rates, the other will be their water bill. It will not be insignificant. The other issue being what councils will be left with to be councillors of, and how will it operate with the stranded costs that will result by the cutting out of all the water's revenue and all of the water's assets, which will impact on your ability to borrow money.
I think in this report above recommendation 9, the sentence for me sums all of this up. The Coalition government does not appear to have addressed any of the risks in this legislation on the paragraphs above, and not in, and they just that for me is a major concern.
And that's pretty much, I think, what most of the submissions that we have seen, read. I would say I read the Local Government New Zealand submission about 3 times. Couldn't disagree. I did that so that I knew what to emphasise and what was already being well emphasised by others. The Wairarapa submission that was put on our collective behalf by Robin Wells from South Wairarapa was a great submission, and I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The future's looking interesting.
Just to clarify, is it possible out of all of this that we can continue as we are with the council owning the water assets, or has it just become off the table?
So the legislation does provide for the status quo as an option. It will require complete ring fencing. So you will recall we currently charge 90% of the cost of water services to water users. That would have to be 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
But legislation does provide for status quo as an option.
Which would get around our issue with standard overheads. If we move our water assets into a CCO, that'll have to have separate management. Whereas if we just...
Which brings...
It would have to have an arm's length engagement with council for those shared overheads, yes.
I think one of the points that the Chief re-emphasised, highlighted to me, and we emphasised that point in our submission, is that all of these costs that are going to land on ratepayers will crystallise just prior to the next election. And once people start to get a sense of what they're going to pay, it's going to be interesting. I'm hoping that what I put particularly in my sum up at the end is taken on board by the government and that they start listening. Because if they don't put money in, and if they don't extend the timeline for sustainability out to 30 years, it's going to look messy. It's going to be messy. I think the having to slice off those assets, and for the new water services, if there was to be a Carterton Water Services entity as a CCO, the interesting thing is that they take all the assets, they bill, it'll be 100% on a 2-year timeline, 3-year timeline. That will be. But at the same time, that does not happen without consequence to what's left of the council. There is consequence, and one of the consequences will be raised rates because of the stranded costs. Mm-hmm. And then from there is going to be the political risk to any council, as they are still held accountable for the behaviour of their CCO. And that will crystallise all at the same time.
And there is also the issue which was raised a week or two ago at Audit and Risk around the additional cost of borrowing for the CCO, which have access to LGFA.
Yes,
that's right.
We're hoping that will be resolved as part of Bill 3, but there is currently no solution for it. Mm-hmm. You're right. But I think if I could just round out your question, Councillor Laurence. Yes, the bill provides for councils to remain standalone. It's pretty clear the direction from the government is that we join up with neighbours. I don't think they're looking for 67 separate standalone water services entities.
No, I don't think they are either. And one of the other points that we did raise is that if we do then move into a new WC, whether it's Wellington or whether it's a Wairarapa Tararua one, it's going to force the amalgamation issue. It will have to happen because councils then become unsustainable. Well, ratepayers' ability to continue to fund council at those levels becomes unsustainable. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, Councillor Ayling.
Just to probably put the cat among the pigeons a bit, out of that situation around the amalgamation talk, would it be easier for councils to not do that decision prior to the waters being merged, or is it actually either way is going to be a tricky path to navigate?
I'll give my view on that, and then I'm going to ask Chief to give his view. But I'd say that right now everybody is so stressed and so under the pump with what we've currently got on, the ability to take on an amalgamation proposal would be a massive challenge. There's probably two ways you do it. If it was a phased approach where you just merged the councils and then left the operational amalgamation to occur over a 2 to 3 year period, that might tease it out. But Chief, your view?
I think there has to be some reason for councils to want to do that, and the water legislation will provide that reason.
Yeah.
If you try and attempt to go before the legislation is enacted, I don't think there's enough motivation for councils to want to consider that option.
It might become self-selecting. Nobody wants to be on a council having to deal with the issues generated by the new legislation.
For the next election, no candidates.
There's an interesting thought. Rightio. So, look, Chief, thank you for the report and thank you for assisting us work through that.
Thanks to Johannes.
And Johannes over there. And I will repeat what I've said before. Look, there's some meetings at that governance level that we're holding in Wellington, which they're keeping very tight. I do want to commend our two iwi over here for pushing back on iwi over there and making it very clear that they will not be represented by those views. They'll be represented by their own views. And that is yet to still finally shake down. But the one thing that is nice to see is how Rangatani and Kahungunu are working so closely together in terms of protecting their interests from other iwi's views on the other side of the hill. And I guess that just reinforces what the Chief has just said about the advantage of only working with the iwi whose rohi this is, as opposed to being influenced by other iwi across the hill and reviving those old ancient wars from the pre-1800s. We don't need to be doing that. So, someone like to move that we receive the report, please? Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Ayling. All in favour? Aye. Against? Motions. Any abstentions? Motion's carried. Someone like to move we ratify the CDC submission of the Local Government Water Services. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, seconded by Councillor Williams. All in favour? Aye. Against? Any abstentions? Motion's carried. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Johannes. Going forward. Keep going.
So with your permission, I'll take the next round.
You're up. 7.3, page 55. Thank you.
So the Wairarapa Economic Development Strategy Forum has been operating now for about 3 years, undertaken a bit of a review on WEDS and their program, looked to streamline the program and also streamline the governance. There seem to be quite a lot of, dare I say it, quite a lot of governors around the table and not enough actual people in WEDS doing the work. And so we've gone through a process of looking at the work program, looking at the operating model and figuring out what it is that needs to change. That's outlined in this paper and it is here for your consideration. Happy to take questions. Essentially, we are moving away from both the Mayor and the Chief Executive sitting on the governance team to just one council officer. And I'm hoping that will be Glenda from my team who will sit in the team, and we'll move slightly towards a more hands-off model and let WEDs get on and do.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor Cherry-Campbell.
Top of page 56, it's noted that the work programme for 24-25 financial year has been endorsed by the WEDs Forum and the 3 Wairarapa District Council mayors and CEOs. How confident is our mayor in that the neighbouring mayors will continue to endorse this programme for the next 25 financial year? So I'm actually, hang on, let me rephrase that. So will the mayors just saying yes, and with or without their support, I guess, from other councils? And
well, that was the decision on the day, and I always find myself holding my breath when it comes to shared agreements these days. It's not something that we've ever had to worry about in the past.
Masterton have passed this.
South Wairarapa adopted their annual plan this morning as well. So both South Wairarapa and Masterton have adopted this.
they have adopted this. That answers my question. Thank you.
Now I can breathe out. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Through to recommendations. No views? We're all good? Comfortable? Okay. So there are 7 recommendations in there. Receive the report, agree to the work program, agree the WED's operating model and beyond, and the oversights provided as read, agree the memorandum of understanding, including our commitment of 60,000 per annum plus CPI, noting the quarter and annual reporting will be provided to council, including the work program and financial reporting. Note the existing MOU expiry will be deferred until the new one is signed. Any unspent WED's budget current as reads there. Can I take all as one? Are you happy with that too? Okay, so someone like to move, please? Councillor Williams, second Councillor Gallen. All in favour? Aye. Against? Abstentions? The motion carried. Thank you for that, team. Fantastic. 7.4 on page 74. Review of council's committees, advisory groups, portfolios. I want to thank those who've been in touch with me. And so let's just crack through. I think take the paper as read, and what we need to do, I'll just signal that as respects to the terms of reference, I've had a conversation with some, and I'd like to have a different recommendation there. But I think what we should do is go through the committee appointments. There are some appointments where the deputy mayors clearly needs to change, specifically on risk and assurance. And I had asked Councillor Laurence if you'd be keen to come on board of that committee, as indicated. Keen? Yeah.
The only thing that's occurred to me since is there a limit to the number of people who can be on that committee?
It's traditionally been where it is, but that's that's the past. I mean,
Well, it just
Used to be full council, and last triennium it changed.
last triennium it changed. Why did it change?
Okay.
Was that a management?
Was it triennium before?
Training before.
Triennium 4.
Yep.
Was that a management recommendation?
Who was here then?
Right. Only me.
Yeah, what did you do?
It's a long time ago.
Did you vote for that? Look, one of the things, well, I will jump forward to that recommendation. What I'm going to propose, instead of moving recommendation 2, I'm going to propose a recommendation that all those terms of reference be moved to a workshop, and that we collectively as a team go through them. And that could be one of those conversations. I know that Councillor Williams and I have had many discussions around terms of reference on a committee in particular. And I know there's quite a bit of controversy still surrounding some of the terms of reference, and to push them through at this point in time, I don't think would be wise if I want to see as high a level of consensus on the terms of reference as possible. I also have a fundamental belief that where money is involved, council should be the final sign-off, and I'd like to get some advice on that. But
The point I was just trying to make is that,
it might be the numbers as well.
you know, I'm happy to the committee, but I don't believe that I can offer the same degree of experience on this council or on councils in general as Councillor Williams can. So I don't see. Can I come on as well? Do I have to replace him?
Well, I'm quite open to that. I would push back on you, Councillor Laurence. I have observed you over the last 20 months, and the swiftness of which you get into detail and your eye for numbers and your questions have been impressive. And I think that's something that's like you would add value to the Risk and Assurance Committee, believe you me.
Yeah. Well,
That's why I've asked you, but absolutely, I can't see. And I think when we get into looking at the terms of reference, I do want to look at other risk and assurance committees around the country. And we've had this conversation, amongst ourselves before, as to other councils who have a balanced table of independents and elected representatives, and drawing on experience from the community of CEOs who want to give their time, or accountants or lawyers or employment specialists or whatever. And that seems to be a trend I've seen in some councils, and I've talked to some mayors. So we can have that conversation in a workshop over terms of reference. That's all I'm saying. But for now, then I would propose that Councillor Laurence be the one, the Deputy Mayor Steve Cretney be appointed Deputy Chair, and Councillor Steve Laurence be appointed to the Risk and Assurance Committee as well.
So I anticipated exchanging the deputy role with Deputy Mayor Cretney, but I assumed I'd be exchanging his place on the Risk and Assurance.
Yes, and you remain.
So I remain?
You remain.
Thank you.
You remain. So that would be my desire, my preference in that stage, or what I'd like to see. Do we have to move it? Just note it, and then we'll move them all as per the recommendation.
So
that's number 3.
So the suggestion was we weren't quite sure how council would like to see that. So I suggest you go through.
Yep.
You want to change membership of the committee, and we'll incorporate that into the resolution of number 3.
Yep.
And
I'll just note that now. Deputy Mayor Cretney becomes Deputy Chair, and Councillor Laurence was added to. That's that one. Policy and projects. Is there any desire for any changes there?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Ron. So just looking back at the risk and assurance, so the membership at the moment in the terms of reference says only 3. Only 3 elected members and the mayor. So with that in mind, and we are going to review all the terms of reference, can we move that now and then change it later, or what do we want to do?
Or can we look at the terms of reference from the audit and risk now?
But we note that we intend changing the terms of reference. We're not going to adopt those.
You can
say that again.
You could pass the resolution noting that it's inconsistent with the current terms of reference, which you plan to review.
Yeah. Good wording. See you.
Thank you.
I also note that it does have on that table under member/chair, it actually has Mayor Ron Mark ex officio on the table. So I think that needs clarifying whether you are ex officio or not.
He's always ex officio.
Ex officio on every.
Okay.
Under legislation.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I just, because that could have got round.
Yeah,
that's 3.
Yeah.
So did you get that wording, Robin, from the chief? Yeah. Thank you. Let's lock that down and move to policy and projects. Is there any desire for any shifts, changes there? We got all elected men. Is there anyone not want to be on it? I know you've got busy schedules and I know you've got other things on your plate. Moving on, everyone's comfortable with policy and projects committee? Moving on. Investment committee, we still don't have an independent chair?
No, we don't. I haven't gone back out to market.
The committee will do it. We'll deal with that later. So there's a change for the deputy mayor, so that appointment changes. Councillor Newman, Laurence, you're happy to stay on the investment committee? Right, moving on from there. With that one amendment to the deputy chair is now Councillor Deputy Mayor Cretney. Water Race Committee, we're all comfortable there. Everybody 20 months on is happy to stay serving in the positions. Dale? Any interest in that? What's the numbers on the Water Race Committee is? Elected to community. So it's a quorum. Doesn't say what the maximum numbers are currently.
3 elected members, I think.
2 elected members and 2 community, quorum.
No, that's a quorum.
3 elected members.
Three elected members, yeah.
Okay, so 3 elected members are happy to continue serving there?
Yep.
Kia ora. We'll keep going. Hearings committee, you guys happy to carry on as you are? Kia ora. Rural Travel Fund. No? Any comment?
I'm happy to step aside if someone wants to step in.
Any volunteers for chair of the Rural Travel Fund?
Brian, do you want to chair that?
I can share that if you want me to.
Okay, so Councillor Della, move to chair. And will you stay on the committee still?
I'm happy to move aside if someone else wants to go on the Rural Travel Fund.
Councillor Kellen's there, Councillor Newman's there. Councillor Williams?
Yep.
Would you be happy to go on there?
Yep.
As deputy chair?
Yep.
Thank you. Community Grants Committee, we're all comfortable in that space. Councillor Cretney will move to the deputy chair slot. Anyone else?
Where does that committee sit with your desire to have full council involved in any decisions of money?
I think that's a workshop conversation. Bearing in mind, we have all the people who are watching the workshops are open to public attendance and you can be there as well. It's not a closed shop. Leave that as it is at the moment, other than deputy mayor moves into the chair slot.
And does that mean Dale is off that committee now?
And unless he wants, no, is there a limitation? I don't think there's a limitation, is there?
It's fine.
No.
RSA grants, you happy to stay there? Oh, okay.
Well, we could just swap.
Councillor Williams, you happy to stay there?
Yeah, we could just swap, Steve.
Just swap over. If you want to swap over, leave it as it is. No, leave it as it is.
It's fair if we just part off.
No, that's right. No, there's no chair. You're both happy to continue serving? Done. Advisory groups. Looking at people and places. Everyone happy in that place? You want to continue as deputy chair in there?
No, I'm happy to step aside. Someone else wants to step up.
Any volunteers for deputy chair of people and places committee and take that slot? And I'll rush.
Are you looking for a new member on it or? You always come to the meetings, Brian. Bob Ewan.
Dale?
Thank you, Steve.
Lou might want to do it.
She's on.
I'll deputy if you want me to.
Okay, Councillor Newman to move up to deputy chair. We have a vacancy.
I nominate Brian Della.
I second that.
I love democracy.
He's got nothing else to do.
He comes to
Get the meeting anyway.
Well, he is.
Okay.
People and places.
Yeah.
Well done.
Comes and represents alone.
You've got that,
All right, buddy.
walking and cycling advisory group. We all comfortable there?
Except it's changed its name.
It has, I just noticed that you are correct. It should be walking and wheels.
All comfortable? Carry on. WWTP Wastewater Treatment Plant Advisory Group.
Can stay as it is.
You don't want to move
No.
up? No,
No,
staying there.
it's fine.
Stay as it is.
Brian did send an email saying that he no longer.
I've got that written right here. So, Councillor Della, is there a limitation on how many people can be on that committee? Just going back to.
Well,
Only advisory group.
It's only advisory.
Or do you want to, either Steve could take the chair and you could take the deputy instead of me, or you could take the chair?
No, well, the only reason I put my hand up for that was now I don't have a conflict anymore with the wastewater plant, and
Well, I'm happy to
and I've
make
probably
room
got some
for you, yeah.
some to offer, but I'm quite happy just to be a member of
Just a member.
group.
Yeah, because you might have to bail off if company
Yeah.
wins another contract.
You never know. You never know, you're bad luck.
So may I suggest that we keep the committee as it's currently structured? And
It's an advisory group.
Yeah.
the advisory group as it's currently structured, we'll add Councillor Della. So,
Just to clarify, this particular advisory group is part of our resource consent.
Oh,
but then Councillor
So
Della, you should be
We need to
there.
be, I'm just checking the membership, and I think we just need to be slightly careful because
We don't want to stack the deck.
there are other representatives that must be on there as part of a resource consent. So I was just checking that, but I think we're okay at this stage. I just wanted to clarify it as it's a more of a statutory requirement than any of the other advisory groups.
Sorry.
Brian, I'm happy to drop off if Brian wants to pop back on there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the advisory group information comes to policy and projects anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy to drop
Okay,
off.
well,
Okay, so there's the adjustment.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor drops off. Councillor Williams, you remain the chair.
Ron?
Can I ask who will be deputy chair if Steve drops off?
We're just looking at that right now.
It's got to be,
Della?
it's either
Yeah.
Brian Della.
So Councillor Della moves into deputy chair. And
with the motion.
Steve Cretney comes on. Right up to the point his company wins a contract and he's gone. You got that, Rural Advisory Group, no changes?
pretty good.
Oh, leaving that.
But may I just clarify?
Yep.
That's still an advisory group.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a committee.
Yeah, we
No.
did talk at one stage about that being
Yeah.
elevated in status to
Well,
us.
it's where it is now.
Yep.
To a standing committee.
Yeah.
They didn't, I don't think they intend to be elevated either.
So.
Yeah.
No one else wishes to go on then? Leave that where it is. Greater Wellington Regional Council Committee and Councillor Cherry-Campbell has advised that she wishes to step aside from that. Councillor Della, I'm looking at you. River Plan, your sphere. Enough hours in a day? A week, a month?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Can we put your name in?
There's not a lot of, I think there's only 1 or 2 meetings a year.
Yeah, the last few I've trustee meetings.
Can I have an alternate for that? Is there anyone willing to put their hand up?
I'm happy to do that with Brian's
Okay.
name as the upper Ruamahanga.
Deputy Mayor will go into there as the alternate. And Ruamahanga as well.
I'm already on the.
Oh, you're already on there, but okay. So one of you's always, we don't need an alternate because there's 2 of you there. External committee entities. Are there any changes we wish to make in those lines? I've started with Wairarapa District Plan is fine. That stays the way it is. Joint licensing.
That might be councillor B, Della, not G.
G was the first, second year of Carterton.
How is he these days?
Very good.
Councillor Z, Della.
I'd swap with you.
Eh?
District licensing.
Has it got to be the deputy mayor?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No.
No.
I mean, I'm happy to stay if, okay.
Yeah. Leaving that district licensing as it is. Wairarapa Economic Development Strategy Governance Group. No, that's all changed as per the last resolution. Wairarapa Trails Action Group. Excuse me. What are we doing with that now?
I think that's our appointments on an external, that is an external group, but it's no longer run by council. So we're just participating.
Does that generate conflicts issues?
I don't think so.
We're not funding them.
It's just, it's a chance to find out what else is going on around the region.
This is not the 5-town trail. This is a separate trails group.
Come along. There's also there's people come along and talk about what's going on.
Both happy to carry on?
I was just going to ask the Wairarapa Trails Action Group, isn't that like a sub of the 5 Towns Trails? Don't they run the 5 Towns Trails? Because the 5 Towns Trails is it an actual trust?
It's a trust.
There is a trust, which is, I think Glenda's got a hand up to answer.
So as long as I've been here, the role of administrating that Wairarapa Trails Action Group has sat with the Trails Coordinator. The Trails Coordinator funding has now coming to an end, and that this whole discussion is up for an agenda as part of the agenda for the next meeting, which is tomorrow. So there will be changes coming to that group tomorrow with the decision of who's going to take over the administration of the group going forward. So at the moment it's got an independent chair, there's 3 councils, and there's about 7 or 8, including Doc, Greater Wellington. They've all come in, they're talking about trails right across the board from what's happening with trails out of Wellington and linking them over here into the Wairarapa. So it's bigger picture than 5 towns or a bigger picture than what's happening in Carterton. But it is good to have that representation on the board and just making sure that we're all on the same page. But the decision on who's going to administer YTAG will take place tomorrow.
Could we get a paper on the legal structure of these entities? Because that's confusing to me. If Wairarapa Trails Action Group is a subset of the 5-town trail or has cross interests, I think we need to be clear about that. Do we just need to know? If one is driving the other or the other is driving the one, you need to know what that relationship is. If they're 2 totally separate entities, then I should be able to see that in a document. If they are connected, cross-supportive, it would just seem strange.
Why don't we
just need to
bring that, if we're going to pick up the terms of reference in a workshop, why don't we make sure we add that to the agenda for the workshop?
And that would go for any of these entities. Most of these entities are quite clear. Road safety is a standalone, independent organisation. It's very clear. Joint liquor licensing, clear. That one seems a little available. That'd be very helpful. Thanks, Chief. Let's leave that as it is. We're happy? Leave that as it is. Road safety, you're happy to continue there, Councillor Laurence?
Sometimes get lunch.
Something like that. Man. Zone 4 LG, I will continue. Wairarapa Climate Change Caucus, comfortable staying in there. Councillor Ayling. Can't hear. I take that as a thumbs up.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah, thanks. And Councillor Cherry-Campbell, you happy to stay in there? Good. Regional Waste. Happy to continue? Thank you. Anyone else want to? Feel free to put your hand up if you want to switch horses and ride some other wagon. Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. Councillor Cretney moves into that slot, but don't worry. Councillor Williams will still be talking to you. Mangataria Restoration, Mangataria Project Team.
I'd completely forgotten I was on it.
Yeah, it's not surprising because nothing's happened.
In which case, there's no harm being on it.
I'm
We're
just
waiting
gonna,
for an EU representative.
I'm going to take that as agreement. A lot of organisations waiting. Destination Wairarapa, there's no change to that. Is that comfortable at all? Okay. Carterton Creative Communities Funding Committee. Councillor Ayling, Councillor Laurence, you happy to continue, Councillor Ayling?
Happy to continue, but also happy to step aside if someone else wants to have a go. A bit interesting.
Is there anyone else who wants to have a go?
I would have loved to, but it probably is always a conflict of interest.
Okay. Guess we don't go there. Councillor Laurence, you happy to stay there?
Yeah, I mean, I've had 6 conflicts of interest at every meeting they ever had. Most of my time sitting out in the.
You've become an expert in how to manage those. Wairarapa Policy Working Group, what is that doing?
It does all the bylaws, the,
District.
Oh, this combined district.
no, that's not,
No,
That's bylaws.
that's the bylaws, so the gambling, the alcohol policy, the Wairarapa consolidated bylaw.
So how's that working when you get a Wairarapa Policy Working Group decision that goes to councils?
Like that, except for one councillor at a different council.
Hmm.
But it goes really well. We actually, we have good discussions.
Yeah.
And the meetings are, good viewpoints across the Wairarapa, great representation of members on there.
My observation is that committee works well.
Works very well.
Yeah.
Very, very well.
It's after that. Ramataka Transport Group, I'll continue doing that. Carter Society, happy to carry on. No one else wishes to leap in. Cobblestones, Joseph Gillard.
Going back to Carter Society, do we have to confer with Jill to make sure she's happy to carry on?
That appointment would be subject to concurrence. I haven't spoken to her. I'm assuming.
Thinking if we're reviewing it,
Well,
she has to.
Yeah.
she still attends.
Yeah, must be heavy.
Do we still require somebody on cobblestones?
I think we were going to pick that up as part of the workshop. I think it's part of the trust deed with cobblestones that we have to appoint.
Even if we're not funding?
So if we can,
funding.
so if we can pick that up in
Pick that up, mate.
the workshop, please. Thanks, Stu. Thanks for that. Future for local government, well, that's defunct. Do we need to? It's not doing anything.
Correct.
Who knows? It might do, but I doubt it.
Correct.
Don't hold your breath on that one, Ron.
So, Councillor Deputy Mayor, you switch into that slot if it ever gets resuscitated. Sorry, that committee is made up of deputy mayors, one senior councillor, and the CEO. Good luck. Water resilience, Wairarapa Water Resilience Working Group. That's myself and Councillor Della. Combined Wairarapa Council Working Group. Deputy Mayor flip over there, and Councillor Cherry-Campbell. You happy to? Oh no, yeah, you happy to carry on there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Local water done well. Gone through all of that. So you got all those notes down. Thank you very much, Robin. Okay, so first recommendation that we receive the report. Someone to move, please. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, seconded by Councillor Laurence.
Absolutely.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Aye. Against? Abstentions? Motion's carried. I'm not going to put that resolution. I will move a separate resolution that all terms of reference as highlighted there be referred to a workshop session where we can go through them piece by piece and make adjustments in line with a lot of the conversation we've already had. Someone to second it, please. Deputy Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? In favour, Councillor Ayling? Thank you. Abstentions? None. Motion's carried. 3, reaffirms the appointments as agreed, as documented by Robin, our wonderful meeting secretary. Moved by myself. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Cherry-Campbell. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? The motions are carried. Thank you very, very much, team, for your assistance in that task. We shall move on to 7.5. Chief.
You go.
Your show.
Look, let's that I highlight in the report that's worth noting. I think possibly the one thing that I would like to highlight is the level of stress that we're currently finding in the community is creating some challenges for our staff. So far as even our Parks and Reserves team are getting some quite offensive abuse when they're attempting to do their jobs. So there are some changes that we will introduce to try and protect our staff. I'm just really conscious there seems to be a great deal of angst in the community towards everything, and that I don't think it's particularly directed at council. I just think we happen to be one of those entities that take the part of people's frustration with the mortgage and the cost of fuel and the cost of groceries and that sort of thing. So that is something we're being very conscious of with our staff at the moment, and I think in the report we identify at least 30% of the complaints we're getting or issues that we're getting are resulting from health and safety. I think it is 30% of the health and safety incidents we're getting are the result of staff coming under abuse part of their job, which is pretty rubbish. On some of the other things that are keeping us happy in terms, we've had some really good feedback around Anzac Day Parade, around recently Charles Wilson Carter Awards, which are absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Glenda. I'm just going to take the report as read and happy to take questions.
Round the table, Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. A good report as usual. I suppose my question to all of us is, when we first asked for a CE's report, it was about a page and a half. Now it's 22 pages.
Yep.
How much time does it take? How big a job is it becoming? Is everything in there, like as a council, is everything in there what we expect to see in a CE's report or not? I'm just curious as to how long it takes to put together 22 pages of information for us.
Look, that's a good question. I like to give the team the opportunity to shout about what they're currently doing. And in a lot of cases, you know, this is the only opportunity they get to do that. And I really want to support them doing that. So I hope it's okay for you to read. But, you know, I'd rather not restrict them if there are things that they want to talk about and communicate with the public.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
I just have to tell Ron, thank you. A really excellent report, and I endorse Dale's comments. And as you say, it is about all the ELT people showcasing their little patch, and not only for us, it's for the public, and more so, I think, for the public, and I do get feedback. The people actually do read the agendas and listen in, and I do get feedback. What a great report that Jeff is administering, shall I say, not writing it all, obviously, but administering it with his ELT. So really good report. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Worship. Jeff, I've got just a few questions. Page 98, under older persons. I just wanted to ask a question around what's been mentioned in there about Greater Wellington, and have they actually provided a solution to that issue of access to bus replacements for disabled older persons? Because to me, it seems they just continuing to kick the can down the road.
99.
I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't think so.
She is consistently in there asking those questions, and I don't think we've got an answer.
No, I don't think we've got an answer.
She's in there waving the flag and asking those things, and especially concerning Carterton and the limited transport options that we have to do. So I have that Greater Wellington and got solutions to.
Yeah, it's the amount of trains that they're cancelling or delayed and everything and replacing it seems to me that they need to come up with a solution smartly.
Well, they're grinding the rail and, you know, because they're cancelling the service because of poor quality service.
Yeah.
They don't know.
You had multiple questions.
Yes.
Councillor Cretney.
Just page 102, it's mentioned around the Clearville connection. And it's mentioned that they've appointed a project manager and for a site visit. I actually thought that you'd had a site visit.
Yes, we had. We had that initial connection from King Street to Clearville, and then further talks have enabled us to open up the opportunity to go from William Road to Clearville. So this is Kiwi Rail has a project manager. It's been 2 years of working with them, and they've finally appointed a project manager, which is amazing. But it's also given us the opportunity to look and scope to provide us. Yeah.
Thank you. 103, climate change. Back in the policy and projects, we mentioned about the wording. Can that be action, Jeff, that the climate change is actually added to that Ruamahanga strategy?
Yeah.
Just so we
can do that. You are correct.
The upcoming work that's mentioned on page 103, I'm just wondering if if Carterton's involvement in the predator-free Wairarapa, if that can be included in the conversation with Carterton School, because to me the rat traps that the predator-free Wairarapa are actually providing to residents free of charge, it seems to make sense to me during Conservation Week for discussions and for the potential for the students to take those home. That's all.
Good point.
Just a supplementary on that, if I could. Sorry, I'll come back to on that work with DOC. They are working with a number of iwi groups in the predator-free space, and all the feedback I'm getting from Ministry for Environment is some of those iwi groups are doing cheaper work, better work than some of the others that have been engaged in. So have our iwi been brought into that conversation?
I
don't know.
I think this work here that Sky's looking at is just linking it with the wider picture originally.
Oh yeah.
Not so
yeah. The actual projects inside it. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Worship. Page 104, Nuku Order. I was just wondering, have Nuku Order provided any funding to assist in the implementation of that the regional places and spaces framework?
It's a good question. The only, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that.
Does say that they're facilitating it, so it sounds like they're funding it.
That's kind of why I'm asking the question. If their involvement in it, I would hope that they're actually providing some funding into it, considering what they do now. The 104, the waste minimisation, is that composting workshop, is that being run in collaboration with all three councils? Because we do have the combined Wairarapa region approach to achieving those goals. So I'm just curious whether that's being run in collaboration. 104.
Waste minimisation.
Waste minimisation.
One that we've just done here in Carterton. It was one of the things that we had overflowing that was already booked in from our previous waste minimisation officer. And we continued, so the ComDev team continued to put on and deliver that workshop here in Carterton. It didn't include the other two councils, but we have communicated how successful it was with the other two councils. I think they're looking at picking something.
Is that the initiative that just got the $20,000 grant?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was from the waste.
That's just community.
Different again. Okay. So different again. Different. Are they joined up?
No, this is community education, whereas the other
Okay.
dealing with waste.
Dealing with waste. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, with our collaboration that we're hoping to have going forward, I'm just wondering if any of these things that we can try and collaborate more with our other two councils in.
You can try.
Yeah. I mean, we seem to have good consensus among our three councils with the waste minimisation. So I just think that could be a good space that we can work together better. I've just got a few comments, so I can wait if anyone else has got some questions.
Just got a comment, but there you go.
Go, Councillor.
Yeah, I attended a community event out at Gladstone over the weekend, and the Millers Road Longbush intersection got good comments. So well done, Johannes, and the team that were behind the design and everything. Everybody seems to be happy that, and as I said to him, watch the space, see what happens and where they move to next. But
I think.
it's yeah. Well, they've already been a little bit. So yeah, just very good positive feedback already. So that's really good.
Thank you.
Any other? No, there's quite a few accolades, Councillor.
The word positive, water leaks. But, you know, it's I think my team's having our own team, leaks get fixed. Other people read about, you know, it's just a joke for everyone else. People to wait too long for water leaks and they don't save water and all that. But I think you've got to be commended and doing well. Thank you.
Any others? Councillor Laurence.
Almost a personal question because I drive past it twice a day. The West Taratai Hall and the renewal of the house, I saw the house going. Right, is there any indication of what we might do with the space or they might do with the space?
Yes, there is, and I can start off and Glenda can add behind this. So yes, there is. So the plan for the space was predominantly to link up with the cycle trail that came out of Norfolk Road, create a space at the hall where there was a facility for cyclists to stop, potentially or start, park their cars and move off from there. There's toilet facilities there. We're going to plant and obviously flatten the site and then replant around the site. But it does have a plan for the future of that site.
No, I mean, this is top of my head. I don't know. I'm not suggesting this is a good idea, but I was just curious. There's no possibility of sort of freedom camping type use of that space because there is a toilet block.
At this stage, no. So we've just done our freedom camping bylaw and we didn't factor that into an area of freedom camping.
There was a house there at the time.
The community group is looking at and exploring about 3 or 4 options, and there's some sort of camping that they're exploring as well. But I don't want to give too much away at the moment. Once they've come up with a really solid plan of what they want to do, I will present it back to council. But it's mainly around how do they enhance that space for their community, tree planting, maybe a walking space or a biking space for kids, and looking at options for longer term visitors.
Can I pick it that is something that People and Places Advisory Group would be looking at? Maybe a playground for rural kids or something?
It's
just saying.
It's whilst we own the land, it's being managed by the hall.
Yeah. The trust committee. It's got a committee.
I was on the committee. I'm no longer on it. They're always looking for active committee members if anyone is interested. They've got they've only got a small committee, but they're really, really focused and really passionate about enhancing the space and maintaining it. And I mean, they do so much mahi out there. It's incredible.
It'll be a local plan. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing what comes up from People and Places on that one. Councillor Cretney, Deputy Mayor, carry on.
Thank you, Worship. Jeff, I just wanted to commend some decisions that have been, and a couple of projects that have been done. Just one of them on Johannes and the decision to recommend road closures with certain projects that are ongoing at the moment. It's noticeable the increase in work that's completed each day. So yeah, I commend that, and I don't know why NZTA don't actually do that a little bit more often. I know it's inconvenient, but they get in there and get things done. And I know these things around Fens and what they've done on High Street, but they could make they could allow that side of things through. But another one is the Pembroke Street car parking. Thank you, Johannes, for getting that removed. I know good things take time. We finally got there, but
it got put in the plan, and then for some reason it evaporated, and we had to find it again. But yeah,
but it's really noticeable when you actually leave the car park. You can actually see the cars coming around the corner and so forth. So yeah, that's great. And the Brooklyn Road footpath extension, Fulton Hogan, they spent quite a lot of time on that preparation, but they got in there and they poured the concrete paths really quick, and yeah, it looks like a really good finish. So hopefully it stands up to the time. Yeah.
So just clarify, that's the other side of the line, or is that going down to the railway line?
So it's both
Sides of the railway line. Which
left this over the rail empty or empty.
So by doing that, that particular footpath extension means that when KiwiRail do the rail upgrade to that crossing, they'll also do. We've got a footpath upgrade at the same time. So yeah, so there's a sort of double benefit with that particular piece of work.
Is there any others? Anyone else? It's quite a long list. Councillor Ayling.
Thank you. I just a couple of questions, and then I had a couple of comments as well. First one was, I was wondering, what is the attendance at the Te Reo and Waiata lessons on a Friday, or average? I know it's been going for a long time.
That's a great question. I don't have that off the. Friday is currently the day that I'm not here, so
I can answer it, Grace, because I attend it. There's often 6 to 10 people there. Depends on the day.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. It's really valuable. It's been good confidence, and yeah, they're cool sessions.
And the other question was with regards to it was page 110 talking about South Wairarapa and their plan have brought on a couple of library staff. I was just wondering if you could explain how the joint service between the South Wairarapa and our library works with regards to those new staff members, Jeff.
Yeah, so They will be, there's only one shared staff member between the two of us, and that is the overarching position. If South Wairarapa have brought on additional staff, that will be a cost to South Wairarapa.
Thank you. And my two comments, one was regards to that car park being removed outside the supermarket. Makes a big difference when you're pushing a pram and it's blind corner versus being able to see that cars aren't going to come and bowl you over. So thanks for getting rid of that. And the other one was to congratulate the events centre on changing that higher to result in the event centre getting 20% more profit. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That was all.
I follow on to that event centre comment. I liked the little bit of extra reporting in there about with the May Music Month resulting in a 110% increase on tickets sold compared to the same period last year, and 169% increase in overall box office takings. That's getting super close to what I'd like to know more of. So awesome. Small steps, but I appreciate that little. Yeah.
And I'll just add my comments before we wrap it. Look, I just want to support Councillor Newman on those questions. I'm still really keen on reconciliations on events. I want to know if they're making money, losing money. We're doing it just because we're nice people and we want to do these things, and at what point, so that we can, as a council, can form a view as to at what point we say no. There's some events have been magnificently promoted and attended, but I don't feel that I've got a true picture. I'm in the same space as Councillor Newman. I don't believe I've got a true picture as to what those events are achieving in terms of financials, So if we take another step forward and look at reconciliations event by event, that might be helpful. Yeah.
Make a comment.
Yeah.
Potentially shoot myself in the foot here. Council has activities that are things like roading, water supply, community services, parks and reserves, etc. At the moment, the event centre activity is part of community services. It's all together. It is a fairly complicated piece of work to separate out the event centre from community services at an activity level to create a whole new activity called event centre. But it is my intention to do that this year so that we have a separate activity called event centre. And that should answer a whole lot of questions. So what that means, pragmatically speaking, is we will have a balance sheet for the event centre as well as a P&L. But that takes a lot of work to separate that out and then recast both our budgets and also our historical spend so that we have comparatives to talk about. So anyhow, that's on the plan for this year, is to create an activity called the event centre so that we can answer this question that has been around for a long time.
That is such welcome news to me, and I can't speak for everybody else, but I think it's clear that some of us voted against funding.
Well, we've moved on.
And
haven't we?
No,
in the last decade.
But I think that the thing beyond the thoughts behind that are the level of uncertainty in exactly that space. And I think
it's just transparency around.
If you're moving down that field and we're offering ratepayers high level of transparency, and people like Councillor Newman a higher degree of confidence as to what it's doing, we will find a high level of consensus around investments going forward, because their business case will be clear.
And I could see the issue. I could see the solution. Letting you know the solutions to get it done right is it's a big piece of work, and we've currently got the finance team working on the LTP and then annual report and that kind of stuff. So it's in the program.
It's better to do it once and do it properly than have to be trying to patch up.
But it's definitely in the program for this year.
Yep. Happy with that, Councillor Newman. Councillor Ayling?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that sounds awesome, Jeff. I look forward to that. I can imagine it's a big piece of work, but I think that's going to be really valuable for us as governance. Also, just the comment right at the start, I think I really enjoy the CE's report. I think it's a good way for us to get an overview of council business as a whole, and I'd hate to see it cut down. I think it's a very interesting report to read each time.
Thank you.
Yeah. More? Yep.
I just have one other comment, just, and it's already been touched on by Jeff around Charles Rick and Carter Awards. And you go, His Worship.
You go. I'm the last on the block.
No, we were already at what you were raising. So you go.
So look, I need to comment on it, and excuse me if it sounds a little pithy, but in that elderly person's, what page was I looking at? Page 99. I have to say it, if we're seriously worried about how we describe older people, being 70 years of age myself, I do not, and I talk to a lot of 70 and 80-year-old people and 90-year-old people. I think a lot of people actually enjoy being referred to as senior citizens. And I find it interesting that the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day finds no problem whatsoever of calling old people elderly people. And yet we at Carterton Council seem to be above all of that and have our own higher level view. I just make the point that so long as we're respectful and we care and treasure our elderly people, I think they mind if they're being called senior citizens, senior people, elderly. Or, in fact, I think older is worse, actually. I'm just putting it up there. You can carry on doing what you're doing if you think it's fine, but I don't think a lot of people agree with you. And you are seen as younger people telling us how we should think, might I just say.
Got to be street time.
So just putting that there, but I'd like to finish on a positive note, a very positive note, and give recognition to some pretty impressive stuff that's been going on since our last council meeting, Jeff. The feedback, I concur with the comments that have been made here. The feedback I've had on the responsiveness to roading issues, the work that's been undertaken, the efficiency of that work, and that road closures and traffic stops have been kept to a real tight minimum has been noted. And I'm just simply passing back to you what I'm hearing in the community, and it probably bears up what Councillor Liddell has just been talking about with Millers Road. I've had good emails, good comments, good reports back from people expressing their satisfaction and pleasure. At the Rotary changeover the other night, Councillor Laurence, there was a lot of positive comment from differing people there on that respect. I want to especially, Jeff, compliment staff on the way in which you have liaised with Woka Kotahi and their traffic management company over those issues, that they would put together a traffic management plan without consulting the emergency services. I found absolutely absurd and unbelievable to start with, but I'm going to say, Johannes, a one phone call to you, an explanation, and like the speed at which that was dealt with was very much appreciated, not just by me, because you fixed it up and got the problem off my shoulder, but by emergency services people who've since spoken back to me as well. I'd like to suggest that whenever we are dealing with Waka Kotahi and they are putting in place traffic management plans, that you specifically ask them what are their protocols for emergency vehicles under lights, because having an ambulance diverted 10 minutes was ridiculous. Absolutely absurd, and that they hadn't thought of that, I just find mind-boggling, to be quite honest. Charles Rook and Carter Awards, Glenda, and you worked with Jenny Gasson, spectacular event, went like clockwork. I think to the judges, to everybody who was involved in producing that result, outstanding. I think one highlight for me, Jeff, was the all of team effort. It really was, when you find people from across all departments clearing tables, shuffling things around, leaping in solitaire, and it didn't matter, it was ground level, management level, everybody was in. And it showed in the efficiency and the way in which the event ran. So big ups on that. I just thank you for that. There was another one, which was, solitaire. Jeff, I know there are times when you have issues in the regulatory space and the consenting space that stretch you. You've always been professional. You've always been clear. You've been, my recollections of the way in which you've done your job has always been straight up and down and look into how you can help. Just know that you're appreciated on behalf of everybody at the council table. I am very well aware, and it doesn't matter who my neighbours are, and it doesn't matter who I might have a drink with. Rules, you have to do the job, and it is not for me to become involved in those things. And that's what I tell people. And I hope that those people, when they come back to you, are a little bit more collaborative.
Thank you.
And understanding. But you're a professional, and we appreciate that. And were you not here, we would be the worse for it. So thank you, Solitaire. So Jeff, look, I'm one of those who always says, well, what parts of the report did you leave out? And but I do know that all the management team put together their bits, and you have to decide what goes into the report. I like the way where this report's going. The more, the better.
Thank you.
It's and it is a good report, so I really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much for that. That's my bit. Let's go to the recommendations. And I jumped over page too fast, didn't I? Would someone care to move? Councillor Della, seconded by Councillor Gallen. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried with our congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
7.6 on page 120, updated policy on elected members and allowances.
So if I may, Karen is sick from COVID, so this report is a response to the determination by the Remuneration Authority on elected members' fees and charges. We have made the relevant changes in the elected members' allowances and expenses policy, and it is here for your adoption.
This is with effect of today, correct?
1st of July, I believe.
1st of July. 1st of July. Thank you.
Monday.
That's a great offender myself. Any questions, any comments? Take the report as read. Everybody's comfortable. Pretty much a statute. Someone like to move? Councillor Williams, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. 7.7 on page 128. No, sorry. 126.
So again, I'll pick up for Karen. So a new report that we introduced a few months ago, just identifying service requests and complaints that we've received in council. So we are trying to keep the data together. So as you can see, the data starts late last year, and will roll on through. We're just keeping a record of the service requests, and as you can see there's quite a few coming through. The roading team tend to usually get quite a few coming through, everything from mowing to signs to potholes to major outages on the roading network, and quite a few for animal control. There's an awful lot of reasons why you could call animal control. But yeah, it's there for your information, and it just shows you how much the team is doing in response to requests from the community on a regular basis. So thank you.
Any questions, any comments, any observations? Deputy Mayor? Or no, I'm going. Councillor Cherry-Campbell.
Question. I had a phone call at the weekend from a ratepayer regarding smoke nuisance, and when she sort of phoned the after hours number, there was no opportunity there for her to contact anyone in relation to our bylaws, and she asked that, could I please raise it? And then when I read this report, I thought I'd just put it on the table. It comes up for roading and all the other issues. I did say to her that normally people that handle bylaws aren't actually on call at the weekends. She had said that she had spoken to Mayor Ron previously and that nothing had happened. So I said I would raise it. And is there any way that on our answer phone service, maybe we can add something in relation to any bylaws, in particular smoke nuisance?
Is smoke nuisance us or is it Greater Wellington?
Wellington, isn't it?
Greater Wellington.
It's part of our bylaw. Did you not read it? Or was the other
there
one?
is
Cross jurisdiction. Yeah.
She has raised the bylaw in the past, and I know that council staff have already had conversation.
Yeah.
I do think that what one of my officers may go out to determine as a smoke nuisance
Doesn't fit her.
doesn't always fit with what somebody else determines as a smoke nuisance. So what we would do in that instance is we probably, unless it was threatening property, in which case you call a fire brigade or if it's burning plastic and rubbish, regional council. But us, we probably wouldn't be sending teams out on call in the weekend to deal with it unless it was an absolute major. We would expect a service request gets lodged. We can look at it on Monday. Where was the problem? Ring the caller, contact the neighbours and say, hey, by the way, you're doing this, give your neighbours some heads up or make sure it doesn't cause problems.
I explained pretty much that to her, and her location wasn't far from where I live, and it was a really clear day, and I certainly couldn't see a lot of smoke coming up. So I think she got off the phone happy.
Yeah. So I can advise the committee that having received messages from the frequent caller, I did send the link to the service request and asked, have you put in a service request? You should do that. But that is only on the back of previous communications where I have steered directly to regulatory for enforcement.
I reminded her of putting a service request in as well, but I think sometimes some ratepayers are just, if you're polite with them and listen to them and raise something, it does help. But
it is also helpful.
I thought I'd bring it up, bearing in mind this is a report on service requests.
You're right to do so.
In public.
You're right to do so, and I will sort of reiterate that sometimes I ask constituents to talk to their neighbour. It actually, we've been down this path before, have we not, Chief?
Mm-hmm.
Where actually, where neighbours don't talk to each other, it only creates a bigger.
She wasn't exactly sure where it came from either. So.
Okay, so no, it's good, but you've raised the matter as required, yes.
And I think the other piece is we constantly suggest to councillors to ask the community to lodge a service request, and you're telling the community to lodge a service request. What I need to do to council is show you how we're dealing with the request that we get.
Yeah,
it's just the transparency process.
Are there any other questions on that report?
I just had one round the under the service request for potable water. Have we noticed an increase in the amount of service requests we've got from potable water just consecutive years, just because people have become more focused on it, or has this been a regular thing? Just there's quite a number there in the first few months of this year. So I'm just...
Yeah, so nothing particularly stands out in terms of increases in the number of service requests around potable water. Often it depends on rainfall in the Kaip as to whether or not we get turbidity or, slight discoloration or taste. But no, there's been nothing that's come out in terms of the volume of service requests in potable water. What I will note while we're discussing it is the work in the High Street that Wakakotahi have done on High Street North, we used to have laterals going across High Street from one side to the other, and they'd dig up the road, and we'd have to replace all the laterals. The Waters team and the infrastructure team have actually put in place a rider main on the other side of High Street, so that there are no laterals in the live lane anymore. So that's our plan around potable water moving forward. It does two things. It reduces the amount of cost required to fix leaks, because we are only going from the footpath to the property rather than across a live lane. But it also reduces the amount of leaks because of the damage that is caused by traffic going over piping, and in particular small thin piping that is relatively shallow. And also when Wakakotahi have come through and taken off the top surface, they're able to just dig the whole thing up without worrying about losing water. So they've taken our pipes and all.
Which speeds up their work. Any other questions, comments, observations, praise? Okay,
Lost one green stock.
One in front, no. Lost children, right? Okay, someone to move that we receive the report, please. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, Councillor Gallen, seconded. All in favour? Aye. Against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. 7.8 on page 133.
Again, a standard report on Official Information Act requests.
Any comments, questions, observations? Any comment to make on it? Yeah.
Well, just waiting for Dale to
make
a comment.
I am too.
Yeah, look,
Councillor Williams.
look at the Stuff News one. How many people had meals in there? I mean, fair go. Talk about.
Oh no, theirs was different. Theirs was about tickets for something.
No, I think so.
There you go.
Yeah, so I was saying.
Oh.
There you go. I said that was a different one.
Copy of the menu list, an explanation as to how kai choices were made. I mean, talk about trolling the depths of Jingos. That's it.
Well done.
Well, ratepayers who are watching this, you're referring to the Stuff News official information requests about how much we've budgeted for refreshments. Would someone care to bring up the plate over there? I think we've got Shrewsbury's.
It's only biscuits and not cut.
What else we got?
And they're not chocolate ones.
No, ginger nuts and.
Who did Stuff recently buy?
Times age. You could just come down and attend the meetings and they would see. Never mind. Someone care to move that we receive this report, please? Thank you, Councillor Laurence. So, Councillor Newman, could you second?
Yep.
Thank you. All in favour? Right. Against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. 10.9 on page 138. Correspondence.
So just in terms of receiving correspondence, so attached is a letter from the chair of the Ashmore Park Body Corporate Committee, and this has been an ongoing issue over a number of Triennium, and as we've recently been through a rating review and an LTP process, the Ashmore Park Body Corporate have been very vocal in their desire for a differential or a slightly lower targeted rate for Ashmore Park residents. And as you can see, they are disappointed with the status quo. I'm not sure there's much more I can do at this stage without, there needs to be a change from the council in order for us to introduce a rating differential. So I thought it's best just to bring this issue to the table and leave it with council, even if that means there is no further action to be taken.
Councillor Williams.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of us have. I've had numerous conversations with the writer and residents at Ashmore Park, and sometimes you end up in a place of grudging acceptance, but then a week later it defaults back to the same letter. I find it a remarkable position. I mean, I've got a bore and a rainwater pump on my property. Council doesn't fund that. My next door neighbour's got a sewer pump to pump up to the council line. Ratepayers don't help with that. Around the district, we've got Otawa Drive that maintain their own road because that's part of their body corp, but they still pay a roading rate because their cars are completely useless to get to the end of their own road. They still have to hook into council road. And you go right back, the agreement for the body corp came out of negotiation between the Ashmore Park developers and council. And all of the residents who live there purchased their properties knowing what the body corp rules were. I find it remarkable that we just constantly get gets regurgitated, and the baseline is the ratepayers should fund private amenities within a closed environment. And I don't know how, I agree with Jeff, I don't know how that message can be any clearer from council. But on it goes. Maybe we just have to receive the letters when they come in on a regular basis, but I don't know how we can respond any more factually and clearly that their position is, I don't know how we progress it.
This is only that. I have nothing to add to that, Councillor Williams and Chief. All I can say is that watch the space. The local water done even better than well. It's going to change the scenario for everybody concerned, and there will be. I was talking to a mayor from a TA that I will not name, who is looking at where things are heading and suggesting that they probably will end up on smaller communities having to consider closing and shutting down their plants because the costs will just not be bearable. And even the suggestion that maybe they would be better off paying for septic tanks for the constituents concerned and divesting themselves of the responsibility.
It's hardly progress, is it?
Back to the back. But it's this conversation is going to go on for a little while longer yet. But someone moved that we received. Check it. The Councillor Williams just moved.
I think you should.
And I'm taking the Councillor Della just
reluctance.
Second it.
Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. 8.1 exclusion, number 8, exclusion of the public. Someone moved that we move to public excluded. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Gallen. Thanks,
Stefan.
Thanks, Stephen.
All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Motion's carried. We are now in public excluded. Sound off, please.
So
Oh no, we've got to still keep.
bring the